One of you got exactly right.
It's me.
It's not.
It's not. It's probably the guy with his
Are you
laptop
looking at
open.
the? Oh, God damn it! Ah, he even got the sales tax. How does he do it? I guess I stepped right into that one.
Today's episode is made possible by our therapy partners, Dirty B and Pickets. From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. And now, broadcasting from the Churn, that's Jim. That's...
Hi, I'm Whitney.
And I'm Nick. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
Welcome, everybody.
Pew, pew.
Pew,
Texas.
We are very interested in what pillow you sleep on.
Pillow.
We would love to know.
Pillow.
Because Nick is going through, I think it's fair to say, a crisis. He is trying new things.
I think I've worked through it.
Buddy, you're having hallucinating dreams. I don't know that that's
No, that's a very normal... Well, it's not a normal dream. It's a normal day in life.
It's a weird dream. You ever had a dream where you work your entire work shift the following day in your dream? And it's just a normal dream of like literally just doing shit. And then you wake up and you're like, God damn it, now I have to go to work.
No.
They used to happen to me when I was a server all the time, when I was a waiter. Like I would work the night shift, and if I had to work the next day, like in the morning, because it was a breakfast, lunch, and dinner restaurant, and a lot of times I'd get dinner shift and then morning shift, and I'd close that bitch and like come home at like midnight, and like, oh shit, I've got to get there at like 5 a.m., and I would just dread it so much. And my dream would be...
Yeah, but unions aren't good for anything.
Yeah, we need unions. I don't think that they ever help people in the waiting business. I don't think that's a thing. I don't know.
I don't think you know what the culinary union does.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
I don't think you know what the biggest
right.
union in this town does.
You are right. It depends on where you work. But
Yeah.
yes, that is a significant thing. Anyway, we would love to hear about your pillows and your dreams in our Discord. Come on down. Patreon.com/therapy. Catch the extra stuff that we record before we start this thing. And, funny enough, so I kind of got a little pissy about this the other day.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Not you.
Jim was a little annoyed. So our stuff has been going on YouTube now, and it's doing cool. Like, I guess, wellish. Like, people are finding it, which YouTube is the second largest search platform in the world, second only to the other Google property, Google search, And so this is the second place that people find content. And so people are finding the podcast, which is great. But a lot of them are finding it on an episode-by-episode basis. They're not listening to the show, liking and subscribing to it. There's a topic we are addressing in that show. It's coming up in their search. And so then they're diving into that show. And so listening to only one show...
Completely out of context.
Yeah. Which is our worst nightmare.
This is a recipe for success.
There's no way that goes wrong. And so what's happening is people are commenting on the episodes.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I've been
making
making them. I'm reading them.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
and I
dumb.
should not be doing that. And they're saying things like, is there any way to get timestamps where the host just answer the question? Because I do not like all the parts where they're talking. And like making jokes. And like at first I thought, oh, okay, I guess. And then I thought, you know what? No, fuck you. Like, it's been 7 years. Like, we have a brand. We have designed a specific formula. The theory is more than just, here's an answer to your fucking question. That's not what this is. Like, it's not a vending machine. You hit a button, you get a Gatorade. Like, no, fuck you. You're joining this community. You're joining the conversation. You're getting to know us. And then the answers contextually mean more because you're getting to know us as people. And we're, teaching people to put them at ease. So
it's a long way to go to say that you're too lazy to put in a timestamp.
You know what's funny though? I did. So
You're an idiot.
All right.
You are a dumb person.
For years.
That's a weird stance to take to then just automatically back.
I don't want anybody to be mad.
Yeah.
Like, I'm also upset, but I'll fucking clean your dot.
All right, I'll do it.
No, but it's funny is like for years I did put timestamps on every single question. I would figure out exactly where they were. I'd put them in the episode descriptions. So that I stopped doing because it was a lot of extra work and like it was already a lot of post-production, so I don't want to do it. So when I say I did, I meant past tense, not recently. I did not start doing it again in response to that one person's comment. Mm-hmm. But anyway, if you are...
if we had a whole production crew...
Yeah, great.
Then that would be easy. We could definitely do that.
We'll pinpoint every goddamn thing.
Or if we had an intern.
We could probably make her do it. Yeah. Anyway. So, if you are listening on YouTube or whatever and you're just finding us for the first time, I hope that you'll stick around and get to know us instead of just grabbing what we offer. But hey, do whatever you want. I don't care. Skip around. Find the shit. But I'm not doing it for you because I have other shit to do with my life.
Way to take a stand.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for that support. Jim's growing a backbone. We've got great questions today, leading off with a sexy one. We're talking about porn addiction. And here's what it says. Short one. My partner looks at porn all the time, like all day, every day. It appears to his go-to for any time he has downtime. Oh, okay. It appears to be his go-to anytime he has downtime. Can you help me?
Which then turns into uptime, if you know what I mean.
Hey-o. Can you help me understand people who look at porn all day just out of boredom? I feel like it's gotten to the level of addiction since it appears to be any time that he is free. Does it really become an obsession or just an easy go-to? He obviously is ashamed of it or feels it's taboo enough to not mention it or pretend he's not looking at it at all. And I only know because we share a browser account. This guy hasn't figured out how to use the incognito mode. Come on, bud. It's a rookie move. Anyway, P.S. We are in a sexless marriage by his choice, which also makes his obsession even more confusing. Thanks for your advice, Anonymous. Interesting. Some twists
All right,
and
Nick,
turns.
this one's for you.
Yeah.
Why? Why is it?
Because you're literally
you
on
guys look at
Pornhub
me?
right now.
Yeah.
Like,
Fine, I'll put my phone down.
yeah, close the laptop, zip up
Fine.
your pants, answer the question.
God,
Just because Whitney's not here today.
Whitney misses one show, and all of a sudden we got all these rules we got to follow.
You know what? You're on the right side of this. That's the agreement was when she's not here, we do what the fuck we want.
That's right.
It's old school pod therapy. Nobody's judging
We're just
anybody.
jacking it. Just going to town on ourselves.
No eye contact. Oh, Whitney.
Is this the part that they want to skip?
Yeah. I think this might be the part that YouTube people are like, can I get to the part where they say smart shit?
Okay.
Fair.
Maybe
All right.
they're not wrong.
Yeah, I think maybe if we did
Nah,
that, it'd be a better
this
podcast.
is the gold.
This is the good stuff.
All right. What do you want to tackle first? The boredom thing? Because that's, I think, the main thing. But then the last PS really kind of got my attention.
Yeah, I definitely see three areas to talk about. One, gravitating towards something like porn or anything else out of boredom. And the question of, at some point, how do we think about that clinically when it's sort of a boredom context versus like a compulsive context? Do we even distinguish those things? And then the other two topics I think are it's a sexless marriage, and then the third one is just this question of, is porn addictive? How do we feel about that? What's the data say on that?
Yeah. I mean, so as far as like the boredom thing, boredom versus obsession that you had kind of mentioned, I think that is an important distinction, at least for me as an addictions counselor.
Yeah.
That's an important distinction. Not to say that it's any less of a problem.
Right.
But from my perspective, I think it would be a lot easier to treat. You know, like if I had somebody who is drinking alcohol out of boredom,
Right.
not out of compulsion. Oh yeah, I'll take that. That's a fine problem to work through.
Well, and it's so fascinating,
address.
right? Because a lot of times addiction and boredom do hold hands in the sense that when we sit down and do a triggers analysis, that's one of the higher ones, right? We almost always find that they do not handle stagnancy really well. The brain gets itchy and starts wanting to fill that void in that time. Emotions can find them in boredom. Just they don't do it well. They don't sit still well. And so there's a sense of like, oh, I need to get out and get a drink, or I need to go do something. So I could see that being like woven into this. I think it's difficult to distinguish, is this an addiction or not? But I do think it's important to say out loud, sexual and pornographic addictions are absolutely a thing.
Oh yeah. I mean, that definitely happens, you know, and you also see, I guess what we would describe like in the substance use world as tolerance.
Right.
You see that especially with porn addiction and sex addiction.
Right.
So, yeah, and I think even before you even go down the road of is this an addiction or not, we kind of have to look at, is it the obvious question, is it problematic?
Sure. Yeah. What are the negative consequences?
Yeah, I mean, it obviously is for the writer.
Well, and I wonder
choosing to write in
if
about
the PS is related to this. So it's a sexless marriage by my partner's choice, my partner who is at all times watching pornography. And this is something that I've seen clinically. When I've had patients come in, usually male, that present with this, and they're not the writer. They're obviously the writer's spouse in this one. I've had patients come in, and a lot of times men in their 20s. And what they'll say is, I discovered, pornography at a young age. It became something that I was constantly going back to. It started to become in a way that I would emotion my life. Like if I was stressed, if I was defeated, if I felt less than, I would turn to this.
And I think that's the thing that most people don't understand.
Right.
That is very common. It's not, it gets to a point where it's no longer about like sexual urge or desire.
Not.
It's like, oh, got nothing better to do, or I'm really stressed at work. Or
I was going to say habit.
It is a habit.
Yeah.
Yes. It becomes habituated, but also there is, and this seems to be something I've seen in the data as well, there's another component, especially to male sexuality, that pornography is affirming. And even though it's all fiction, it is an affirming fiction. The actresses are excited to be here. They're all very welcoming of this. And sexuality, female sexuality directed at men, is inherently an affirming thing. It goes back to basic evolutionary concepts of like survival of the fittest and who is the choice maker, right? And the female of the Homo sapiens species is technically the choice maker. And if they get to pick, it's, this is the natural selection. They get to naturally select. And whenever they show sexual favor toward a male, there is an affirmation to that. Boys grow up seeing the dude at school who's got like the leather jacket, the football player. And one of the hallmarks of his success is that the females show him attention. And that attention is, I like him. It's more than just, isn't he a great guy? We all disagree he's a great guy. Intellectually, we all think he's a great guy. No, it's that you dress pretty for him, and you want him to notice you, and you're flicking your hair, and you're throwing yourself at him. And that sexual attention is affirmative. And what's interesting is that translates to the pornography experience, because when guys get addicted to that, it starts as a sexual thing. It just starts as, ooh, this is hot. I'm turned on by this. I'm orgasming to this, and therefore there is a dopamine loop that's established right there. You guys are just counting how many times those
timestamps.
Yeah. Where's that?
Those are going to be great drops later.
Yeah. I'm orgasming to this. Just easy.
Man, there's so many questions that could come back to haunt me. I don't play defense. All right, I put it all on the field, baby.
I'm glad Jacob and I both looked at each other and stayed very quiet for that.
Yeah, both of you pulled out your phones and just hit a button really quick. And stamp.
It's going to be a nice clean drop.
The dopamine loop is being established in the beginning by sexuality, but over time, when people get to this place where there's constantly doing it, what they don't realize, and they often do in therapy when they sit down and analyze it, there is an affirmation at a almost biological level that's happening where they feel better about themselves while they're watching this. Something about it, it's uplifting. It's almost like a pep talk. And then they become obsessed with it. There's an addictive component to this. And so it really is difficult. And the other thing that happens, and this is wild and super interesting, erectile dysfunction often occurs when people get to this point. And I'm curious because I've seen situations where the husband or the boyfriend, here they are, they're a man in their 20s. Biologically, there's no reason to be experiencing ED. The equipment works. A lot of times they've been to a urologist and everything's correct. They've done all the tests. But they can't get an erection and participate in sex, in part because they are so desensitized. And this goes back to your point about tolerance. Mm-hmm. They've been witnessing so much pornography that's what it takes now for them to get aroused and get interested. And a lot of times, the guys that are watching porn all the time, they don't even have an erection while they're watching it anymore. They're just passively watching this, and it's like the news. It's nothing to them. So what happens is the equipment gets cognitively tied up, right? We've talked about neuroplasticity, neurons that fire together, wire together. There's so much sexual firing that it's almost like it takes a huge new stimulus to get the body to react. And the body starts to associate a sexual partner as what's on a screen instead of the woman in front of you. And then that creates a new problem in their relationships where they love their partner, they're interested in their partner, but they can't sexually perform with their partner. And they're also sometimes not sexually interested in their partner anymore because they have gotten addicted to this other thing. They're like constantly, snorting Coke. And so when you come to them and offer them like a normal coffee, they're like, what is this water? This doesn't affect me. Like I may as well not even have it. And it's like, yeah, it's because your brain has gotten stuck on the hard stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Once you've tasted blood, wine seems too thin. Right.
Is that a saying?
Yeah, I heard it in a song.
Pretty fucked up saying, man.
Yeah.
Also not scientifically accurate. Unless you're drinking a drunk person's blood, then okay. I mean, if that BAC is high enough, then sure.
Yeah.
I guess that could be true.
I mean, with the whole sexless marriage thing by choice, by his choice, I don't know. I guess I would want
Also,
to know.
you can't just throw that in.
At the very end.
Yeah.
That's a big curveball.
Ryder, that's not a PS. That's a paragraph.
Also, not sure if this would be relevant, but, the sex-related question.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that. I'd love to hear more about that. And then, I mean,
You're not gonna, because it's an email.
have you approached him about this too? Like, that's kind of something I'm interested in too, hearing a little bit more about that. Like, is this, obviously this does bother you to some degree. I think this is a good conversation to have. I think it's a conversation that needs to be had, but I like what the writer's kind of doing here is the writer's kind of getting some more information first.
Yeah.
It sounds like before I confront him about this, is there anything that I need to understand? Can somebody do this just out of boredom? Which, we did talk about that.
Right.
Does it become an obsession or just an easy go-to? I think both.
Right.
I don't think we know enough about this situation right now to be able to say like, this reaches the criteria of an addiction.
Right.
But
it sure does look like it. I mean, there's a lot there. I mean, there's key parameters that Nick and I are always searching for to tell us, like, is somebody using despite negative consequences? If they tried to cut back and failed?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to tell if something is addictive or if it's become an addiction is to just remove it and see what happens.
Right.
I was going to say, just set up some like parental blockers.
See what happens
on your Wi-Fi one day.
Yeah.
Just don't say anything about it.
Oh, there you go.
Just see what the reaction is.
Yeah. Well, I think at a minimum we would probably use the word dependent. I mean, this person that's how they're living their life. So, writer, a couple of things in this, and for the general audience. So, one, there's a really good movie that portrays this with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Is that this kid's name? It's called Don Juan.
Okay.
And in this movie, he plays a sex-addicted young man who's navigating life and relationships. And you can see he does a really good job portraying some situations where he's in love and he meets a wonderful woman and he cares about her. And, like, he's on the way to see her and like he's watching porn in his car and it's obsessive. He can't stop. And it's very confusing. And so when you're in the situation, writer, it's very easy to conflate all of this in a personal way. When your partner is drinking too much, there's a temptation to think like, oh my God, are they miserable? Do I make them miserable? Am I part of this problem? And we get sucked into it. With porn and sex addictions, it's very tempting to look at this and take it personal and say, this is a rejection of me. I am unattractive. They don't want me. And they're replacing me with these actresses. And that's part of this. The reality is not usually that. The reality is usually this high octane, very specifically produced and designed content that is creating this mental experience in the male mind. And when you think about the way that human instincts are very profound and powerful and how they motivate a lot of behavior and how they shape the brain, sexual connection and sexual performance and sexual selection is perhaps one of the largest driving factors in men most of their adult life. And so this is a very powerful biochemical circuitry that's getting manipulated. It doesn't have a lot to do with you. So one, I usually want to get people away from personalizing it. Two, I want to get people away from moralifying it. I don't like whenever they start looking at you are a degenerate, you are a bad person, this is evil, this is bad. That's tricky too. It usually says more about your personal insecurities and your fears about this and certain maybe religious or philosophical beliefs you have. And I don't know that those are super helpful for disentangling your partner's behavior and you entering into that. I do like the idea of a conversation about it, but from a perspective of starting with, hey, I stumbled upon this, right? I'm not stalking you. I'm not doing anything crazy here. But I do notice sometimes that this is going on in the background and making it safe, making it like, hey, I don't want to interject myself in this because it's your body, your choice. And like, I don't necessarily care. But this, I don't want to speak for you, writer, because you don't tell us whether you have a problem with the sexless marriage. You just say it's your partner's choice. But if you would like more sexual connection, you can usually try to bridge both of those at the same time in a conversation that says, hey, is this something you'd like to do together sometimes? Is this something that we could weave into our bedroom time and maybe recapture something? And this would be a way to slowly start to wean a person away from just that content and starting to reconnect their brain circuitry to you in a sexualized way. Now, that's not a perfect prescription. A lot of couples have tried that and found that to also be very damaging to them. So I don't just carte blanche say, yeah, just bring some porn in your marriage, everything will be great. No, there's a lot of research that says that is not always a good idea. In your very specific situation, I think it could be interesting. But I don't like just ignoring this forever. When you notice a person's doing this habitually, they could be doing it at work. They could be doing it while they're driving. They could be doing it at a coffee shop.
I mean, that definitely explains some of the people I've seen on the road recently.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. They're driving in jacket. I mean, that's just the thing, you know? So, like, I definitely want you to think about bringing it up, because I do think that at a minimum, if we know somebody is doing anything to excess and is dependent upon anything and we love them, we want to depersonify it, and then we want to talk to them as a human and say, hey, I just want to make sure that I'm talking to you about this. Are you okay? Is this something? And sometimes you need to do that as a voice of normality, because you can get so sucked into like these addiction holes that you lose perspective. Like, you know, at some point you might talk to a friend about it, and your friend will be like, bro, that's not normal. I don't do that. And then they might be like, oh, okay. And that might be the one spark of light that like causes them to say, maybe I need to look into this. Is this a real problem? Like, is it not normal for me to feel these ways? Mm-hmm. So I'm okay with bringing it up, but I don't know. What do you think about that, Nick? Is it okay to talk to the partner about this?
Absolutely. I mean, if it's something that you're concerned about, concerned enough to write into us to talk about, yeah, I think that's fair game. I think it's perfectly fine to bring up. I think as long as you bring it up, you know, in kind of a concerned, curious way, and non-confrontational.
Yeah, definitely the right way to bring it up is importantly non-judgmental. That's a big part of this. But anyway, Ryder, a real talk. I appreciate this question. There are a lot of people privately going through this and not sure how to navigate it. They take it personally. It feels like rejection. It is something they tiptoe through. There's a lot of really good writing out there. If you're a person out there who's struggling with this, and this story describes you, Coming Out of the Shadows by Patrick Carnes is a great starter text, just to kind of start to wrap your mind around the science and the reality of sexual addictions and how they can manifest, that it is something that can happen to you, and that if you're struggling with it, you deserve to get help. And don't forget, there are organizations out there like Sex Addicts Anonymous, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, there's Pornography Addicts Anonymous now, and there are so many support groups for this, and I just really hope that if you're out there and you're struggling with this, you realize you don't have to. This can get better in your life. It can help you right-size your sexuality, recapture your sexual interest in real people, partners that are in your life, which is probably going to be healthy for you overall. So, you know, last thought, just a whole nother tangent. You know, one of the biggest areas that we're seeing a new growth, a new resurgence in porn addiction,
my pants,
is in Jacob's pants. And I just got that newsletter, you know, from ASECT. It was really crazy. AI. So there's a bunch of apps now that are creating AI girlfriends.
Oh.
And you design the girl, and she's your dream girl or whatever, and then she behaves in this very natural. I mean, you guys have seen what AI can do, and like the way she talks to you and remembers shit you're telling her, and like you just talk to this app in real time, and it flirts with you. It does sexy stuff, and like a lot of people are getting addicted to that now, and especially the youngest generation, the Zoomers, and there's a lot of interesting research watching that and saying, oh shit. Because you remember that movie Her?
Yeah.
Or She? Was it
Her
with Joaquin Phoenix?
Yeah, and
Scarlett
Johansson, I think, was the voice.
Yes. Yeah. And so it's opening up a lot of interesting components to that. But anyway, we are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're talking about the Big D. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's producers who sponsor the show are Smitty Scoop, Mason Miller, Tess Miller, Byler T, Paris, Team Monaco, Oscar Swanros, Hannah Marie, and Emma Kane. And if you want to join these names and become a producer, you can do so by signing up at patreon.com/therapy. All right. You want host interests, or you want 1-star reviews?
Ooh, 1-star reviews.
Sure.
Let's save host interests for Whitney.
Okay.
I like 1-star reviews.
Okay. Here we go. Very famous, beloved places and products.
Ooh.
Here we go. Quote, there was way too many rocks. Literally, that's it. Just rocks. No bathrooms, no Starbucks, nothing.
Just rocks.
It's got to be like the Grand Canyon or something.
Yeah, or like Red Rock. Are we blinding on this, or are we getting multiple
there are no
choices?
options.
Okay. Just rocks. Oh, I'll bet you it's Stonehenge.
Oh, Stonehenge is good. That's a good one. All right, I'll stick with the Grand Canyon.
Okay. Let's see. It is the Grand Canyon.
Shit.
Hey!
That's great. 1 star.
I like Stonehenge, though.
Yeah.
All right.
The fuck is up with these rocks in a field?
Okay.
There's nowhere to
Because Stonehenge is like out in the middle of nothing.
Right.
I mean, I guess the Grand Canyon is too.
Yeah. Here we go. Quote, absolutely nothing to do here. It is just a bunch of walls and some old furniture. I thought this was supposed to be some epic escape story, but nope. The audio tour was slow. The prison was too cold.
Oh,
And they
God.
didn't even have a gift shop that sold good souvenirs.
Yeah.
Really, who wanted to remember this place?
Alcatraz.
Yeah, gotta be.
I would think so too. It is Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Here we go. My trip here was completely let down. For such a quote-unquote wonder, it's really just old rocks and sand. I expected to see something breathtaking, but all I got was a lot of wind and dust. There's not even a proper visitor center, just a bunch of locals trying to sell trinkets.
I got it.
Oh, no.
The guides wouldn't stop talking about how ancient it is. Yeah, it's old. I get it, but maybe spend a little of that tourist money on an upgrade.
All right. Since
feel like-
you've got it, don't answer.
I got it easy.
Because
Yeah.
I'm searching. I've got a couple of ideas.
I think I know what it is.
All right, then I'll go first because I'm probably the least
Talk
confident.
us through your thought process here, Jim.
So my mind is drifting toward the pyramids.
Uh-huh.
The sand thing, okay, and
Okay.
wonder that's a huge clue.
Yeah.
As far as other wonders of the world, and then there's like natural ones and there's like man-made ones, but we've already got Grand Canyon off the board, so I feel like it can't be that again. It's probably going to have to be the pyramids, so that's probably my best shot.
I was going to say the pyramids at Giza.
Yeah, pyramids.
All right.
What got me here?
I think the only other one it could be is the Great Wall of China.
Oh,
But I think it's the pyramids.
Okay.
Oh
okay.
yeah, it is the pyramids.
Fuck yeah, dude, we're doing really good on this.
Yeah, the thing that got me was the locals trying to sell trinkets.
Oh
'Cause that's
yeah, I've heard
it's
about
a
that.
Very,
I've heard it's very scammy.
very scammy.
They're like pushy.
Yeah.
They try to make you walk over with them to places.
By the way, there are hints to all of these, but I'm only scrolling enough to see the quote and not the hint.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Appreciate the honesty.
Yeah. Quote, last one. Quote, I was expecting something out of a fairy tale, but this place is just overrated. Sure, the towers are tall, but they aren't as impressive up close. The gardens were fine, but it felt like just another park. I thought I was walking into a Disney movie, but it's a movie, but it's more like a walk through an outdated attraction. Save your money.
What? Towers? Disney movie?
I've got a guess.
Oh man.
My guess
I'm in
is
the dark.
the Taj Mahal.
Oh. That's solid. There's towers there, right?
Yeah, there are towers.
Gardens were fine, but just another park.
Yeah.
I'm
like
going to
just another
take...
park.
Okay, I'm going to need some grace on this because I don't know the proper name for this building, but I want this to be it. There's a building in Constantinople that's like...
Boom, boom, boom.
Yep, thank you. That is the right
Hagia
response.
Sophia.
Yeah, one. Yeah, I want
yeah.
the... There's like spires.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want that thing.
Okay.
And I'm going with towers mostly on that.
Oh, yes.
I don't know about
Shit,
gardens
it said
and shit.
towers. I was going to say the Louvre, but...
Do you give me like an English thing? Like a castle? Like Disney castle?
I
Like,
mean, you do have the
is
Tower
there a
of
famous
London.
castle? Is that a thing? What famous fucking castle is
Oh,
there?
there's castles all over. I don't know if there's any one particular one.
Disney was one of my early guesses.
But then
I
there's so
am-
many on the nose references.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jacob on this one, I think. Oh, okay.
Are we all wrong?
We do.
Shit.
You want the hint?
Sure.
Yes.
A famous castle in Germany, often considered the
Oh.
inspiration for Disney's
Oh,
Cinderella
that
Castle.
that thing.
I know what it is,
Ergo.
but I have no idea what it's
It's
called.
called like the Erga something. Erga.
Yeah.
Okay, if he's close, should we give it to him?
Hell yeah, you should.
If Irgi is close,
Ergi.
Yeah. Sure.
Castle?
We'll give it to him if it's Ergi-ish.
It's with a bunch of German sounds. It's like It's like Ergenstein. Something like
No, it's Neuschwanstein.
I feel like I was very
Schwan-
close. I got the Steen in
Schwanstein.
there.
Yeah.
I feel like the Steen.
Neuschwanstein Castle.
Yeah.
No. No, it doesn't sound anything like
so no points awarded.
I was closer than both of you. In fact, we are taking away points. The effort shall be punished. All right, good questions. I like this. This is a fun topic. How to have a conversation about the big D. Hello, Pod Therapy. First of all, get your mind out of the gutter. Although if we were discussing that big D, I probably wouldn't be asking this question. I'm actually talking...
I assumed we were going to talk about who shot JR.
Dallas. I'm actually talking the other D, divorce, or perhaps instead, conscious uncoupling. We've been together for a long time, but not married, no kids, and but do have, we own a house together and we have dogs. Like pretty much anyone who is ready for the divorce talk, it's probably a few years overdue, as the relationship has run its course, and we're both just in coasting roommate mode. What is a good way to start the conversation? How do you avoid falling into the trap of using blaming language, especially as things get heated or into a fight? Thanks, Anonymous. Interesting. So to be clear, this person's saying it's a breakup conversation, but they're equating it to divorce. They're not legally married.
Okay.
Like, look, we live together. We own a home together. We have dogs together.
If you own a house together and have dogs, for all intents and purposes,
well, I think legally
it's
it's a common law, right? Common law marriage.
Depends on how long they were together.
Yeah, and where they are and all that stuff.
Wow.
So, I mean, none of us have actually been through this. So, I guess.
Yeah, if only there was someone here who's been divorced.
Next question.
All right. Well, we tried.
Let's talk about dick.
Yeah.
We know that's not what your question's about. You made it very clear.
Like
However,
a politician, we're just going to pivot to the one we want to answer. Like you teased us with that title.
pivot to that D.
All the show's answers come back to the dick.
I
Very
think,
Freudian.
It is.
Ryder, I think the best way to approach this is to, it's going to sound kind of cheesy, but kind of those I statements and really kind of focusing on, here's how I feel. Here's what I'm going through. These are my thoughts. And yeah, it is sometimes very difficult to not play the blame game because, when something like this happens, especially if the other person's caught off guard,
right?
Or, if they don't share the same feelings that you do, they're going to become defensive. Even if you're not attacking them, they're going to become defensive because they're seeing like this is the end of their relationship. And what is more personal, to them than that, And so if you're talking about this is ending, you can expect that there's going to be some pushback to that. Unless they're just completely on the same page, like, yeah, you know what, I've been feeling that too, and then you can work it out amicably. But even in those situations, like, it's tough because the slightest thing is going to turn into a blaming conversation.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to avoid that.
I had a friend in the last 2 years who had a very long-term relationship with their partner. Neither of them were into the whole marriage concept, so it was never something that they decided to legally go forward with. But they did live together. He owned the home, she didn't. But they had dogs together, the whole business, and had a life together. And at some point he came to me and he said, I think we've become roommates. Like it's that old, trope, which I think many of us have heard. We're living separate lives, just all the things. And said, you know what, I think I'm at a place where it's time, I want to let go of this. And also this person was like, I think I just want to do a lot new things with my life. I want to travel. I want to see the world a little bit. I think that it's time for me to, make some big life changes. Well, what was interesting was, we talked through this and, I felt like this person was sort of ready. And I was like, so, wow, you seem like, I've kind of kicked all four tires on this thing. I've tried to be your friend and talk about this from different angles, kind of test your willingness. Obviously, your friend happens to be a therapist. So, I'm sort of plying in some interesting ways to try to be helpful to you. And you do seem like you're ready for this, right? Well, then he kept delaying it. And every time I'd see him, a couple months would go by. And I'd say, oh, so, hey, man, we'd get together for a beer. I'd be like, so, tell me, brother, did you finally make that decision? And he goes, oh, yeah, man, I'm still going to do it. I'm convinced I'm going to do it, but I haven't done it yet. And I'm like, why? And it was so interesting because whenever you build a life together, you have so much that you're still doing. It's like, well, we have this vacation coming up. you know, or like, well, the holidays are coming up and I really like this person's family. So like, I don't want to mess up the holidays and like, I don't want to fuck up their, you know, make them depressed before the holidays or this, that, or we have an anniversary coming up. I don't want to fuck up or like, I just want to get through this. And I'm like, okay, like, you know, this is interesting. And they're like, yeah, like it's actually becoming a different problem because I want to do this, but it's not like I am actively unhappy, right? They're not beating me. They're not setting the house on fire.
There's no rush to get it done quickly.
Yes, and then I think you get like slipped into this complacency because your equilibrium is so functional day to day, and you're friends, right? And so like you'll be like, oh hey, do you want to go catch a movie and see a pizza? Yeah, let's do that. Okay, cool. You know, and like you just do your thing, and you just don't feel a sense of urgency. And I think a lot of people write letters like this or in this headspace where it's like I feel like we're getting to the end. I'm not ready to take action. And to me, that's something I'm really curious about because I think Nick's right. Like when it's time to have the talk, I like what Nick said about that. But one of the big questions that I think a person needs to sit with is progressing in their stage of change. Like, are they in preparation? What does it look like to take action? And are they ready for the life disruptions that come with that? Because once you talk about this, you know, the cats are out of the house. Like, I don't know what's going to happen now. Like, is my partner going to say, okay, well, I don't want to live here another day like this. You know, we need to immediately make choices. Like we need to rush all this. Or is it going to be like, okay, thank you for telling me. Now there's tension. We're fighting. It's now going from equilibrium mode where we weren't cruel to each other to now cold shouldering and being mean. And I'm like, I might even scare you or hurt you and like try to go out and date somebody. And like, how is that going to affect you? So none of that I don't want to deter you from making choices, but I do think a healthy thing to do as one prepares for action is to sit down and simulate all that out. And I think that actually increases their readiness to do the uncomfortable thing.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with that because even though you're in a boat and you're going downstream and you're going in a direction you don't want to go in, the waters are calm.
Yes.
You know, and that says a lot for that current relationship. So I do understand that because you have to understand that, okay, well, as soon as we do this, we're not going to be in calm waters anymore.
Yes.
But that's the only way to change your direction.
Right.
Is you're going to have to go upstream or you're going to have to do something and then the boat's going to rock and then it is going to be difficult. There's no easy way to do it.
Right.
I mean, even for like the people that I've come across that have had amicable breakups.
Right.
I mean, it's relatively amicable,
right?
You know, compared to, you know, what we see, but it's still not easy. It's still very difficult. A lot of difficult choices have to be made. People's feelings are going to get hurt.
Yes.
And it's going to happen.
Yeah. My last thought on this too, at the end of the day, I've had a lot of people come to me over the years in therapy and say, you know, I'm here to talk out how I'm feeling about my relationship. And they'll use a lot of this language. They'll say, you know, we've lost connection. There's no chemistry. There's no romance. We're just an old married couple kind of thing, or like we're into our routines. And it's interesting. I think for me, person of therapist, I sometimes struggle with hearing that because in 8 sessions in a day, 6 of them are couples who are trying to actively murder each other, or there's some kind of like insanity in their world and they're screaming and crying and gnashing of teeth, or somebody's like, it isn't even the couple I'm treating, it's a member of the couple, and they're telling me about the insanity that they live with. And I think, my God, there are so many humans that would love a boring life with a boring partner who is nice and is not a problem. And maybe you don't have a spark anymore, but so many people are living in chaos. They would love your life. And so there's a part of me in the back of my head that I think, you know, for every one person I hear from who's like, I think I want to leave because I'm bored and things are restless or whatever, I've got 8 that I've heard from that are in chaos, and then actively hurting. And so it's really tricky. But I also like to point people to the triangle theory of love. Steinberg's triangle theory of love is a great visual model. And one of the things I really appreciate that is just remembering that in the lifespan of a long-term relationship, we expect that you are going to go through various developmental cycles. And in the beginning, you know, and I think this is a common trope in society, we talk about the honeymoon period and like we expected there to be spark and chemistry and sex and, oh my God, it's so exciting, this person's fascinating to me. And then over time, we expect there to be a lull, and then people get into more of a commitment-focused relationship where they are there, they're rock solid, they're loyal, they know each other, I've got your back, I'm steady, I'm predictable. but the spark is gone and maybe there's a drifting from the friendship. And so all of that's accounted for in the life cycle of a relationship, and some relationships drift from end to end. So anyway, I bring that up to you, writer, not to disqualify your feelings. If you feel like, hey, you're ready to leave, that's fine. But a full exploration of your feelings is due before we do anything, before we throw this away. And I would just want to bring your attention to that, because that is a valid area to end up in a relationship, and it doesn't have to be forever. Really great book about recapturing sexuality and contact in your relationship, Mating in Captivity by Esther Perel. She talks about how the familiarity we develop in long-term relationships has an inverse relationship to eroticism, that eroticism sort of fundamentally lives in a mysterious space of not knowing this person, craving their affirmation and seeking them, and we don't tend to seek what we have. And so she talks about how to recapture some of those postures and reignite a relationship. So anyway, just putting all ideas on the table in front of you, writer. But fundamentally, I agree with Nick's approach of, if a conversation needs to be had, that's the way you have it.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any other tips as far as avoiding falling into the trap of using blaming language? Yeah. I mean, for me, I think, like I said, I would go back to those I statements and really kind of focusing on that. But then recognizing early on when the temperature starts to warm up and we're starting to blame, we're starting to point fingers, to recognize that early and then just kind of bring it back, maybe even taking a break from the conversation if you need to and come back to it later.
Right.
You can only control, you can only control your side of the street.
Yes.
If the best thing you can do is do your best not to try to use blaming language.
Right.
And if they do, then the best thing you can do is not feed into it.
Well,
and then maybe take a break if you need to.
I love that. And two thoughts I'd add to that too. When somebody comes to me and says they think they want to have a conversation like this, I tell them, you will be ready for that conversation when you and I have done enough therapy on this and you've gotten out all your resentments and you and I have talked it all through to where you're ready to talk to this person without any blame language. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times we have all of our resentments and our misgivings. We've made the case in our head 10 times, right? And so then we get up to this person and we're ready to unload on them. Mm-hmm. We're ready to make this their punishment. We're going to say, you're officially being broken up with, and here are your crimes. Here are the things that you have done. And so that is a natural thing for people to want to do in a breakup. Even if they're like, hey, I don't hate you, but they're kind of aching for you to ask why. Yeah. And then you can say, well, look, here's 10 times that I tried to ask you out on a date and I was trying to be flirty with you and you were dormant and you weren't interested, and times that you shorted me, or times that you didn't pay attention to me, or times you went out with your friends, or times that you didn't appreciate things that I've asked you to do in the past. We have all of that waiting inside to be delivered in that breakup conversation. Mm-hmm. And my rule of thumb is, if that's how you feel, you need to give them their indictments, you need to read the charges, you're not ready for the breakup. Right. Because you only need to read the charges if you're making a bid for change. And if you're still in a place where you want to make bids for change, then you're not ready for breakup, you're ready for negotiation and revision. Mm. And that's where I like to work with people, because sometimes we realize you're not ready for a breakup, you're ready for a revolution. And so let's prepare you for that conversation, to go in and make bids for change and being prepared to lose the relationship. But now is where I'm going to rip the carpet out and tell you everything we're doing wrong. Mm-hmm. But if you feel the need to do that, then you're really not ready to break up, because when you're ready to fire somebody from your company, you don't need to read them the list of everything they've ever done wrong, because in 24 hours, they will not work here anymore.
Yeah,
it will not matter. You need to read things that people have done wrong when you want to change them, so they can be a better employee. If you're keeping them, a write-up tells them what they're doing wrong. That's a PIP. Mm-hmm. But if you're terminating and you've made peace that you're ready to terminate, then you need to come into that conversation offering no feedback at all. And that's the way you terminate an employee. You do not sit down with them and say, here's all the things you did wrong, because then they're going to respond to that. Yeah. And now we're negotiating your return to the company immediately. Mm-hmm. Instead, it's got to be, it's not working out, we've made a decision, here's what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. Then there is no blame language. They may piss and moan on the way out of the building, and your partner may piss and moan because they still have their hurts. Mm-hmm. But when you're personally ready, you won't have any blame language in you, because you'll be beyond that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm full of good points.
All right. Now let's get to the big D.
Yeah, finally. Let's talk about dick. I think that's where we need to get. Too many drops are coming out of this episode. I need to stop talking. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about feeling unaccomplished, for my age. Oh, okay. Oh, wow, that's relatable. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Smitty Scoop, Mason Miller, Tess Miller, Byler T, Paris, Team Monaco, Oscar Swanros, Hannah Marie, and Emma Kane. And would you like to sponsor the show? Become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. Okay, here we go. Continuing on with 1-star reviews. All right. I don't understand why people are willing to spend this much on something that just makes noise. Sure, it's small, but I can't even tell the difference between this and my regular radio. And sometimes it doesn't even understand what I'm asking it to play. Waste of money.
Huh.
I think this is an Alexa.
Or a jukebox?
Oh.
Huh.
I was going to say like an iPod.
Or a car radio. I'll bet you this person's an idiot. And it's like a fucking car radio.
Why won't the DJs listen to what I'm saying?
I'll bet it's a car radio. All right, I'm going car radio. Or radio. I want that entire corner of the board here.
All right, I'll
you
take
just want anything that makes noise?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, fuck you.
I'll take thing with speakers.
Shit. That was a good move.
Oh, points for everybody.
We're all so smart.
I'll take like an iPod, iPhone
Okay.
type thing.
Oh, we're giving him that. We're giving him Apple products.
Doesn't matter. He's wrong.
Yeah, I don't
Alexa.
think I'm right either.
It was Alexa?
Amazon Echo /Alexa.
Oh, it was that.
Those things are annoying.
Yeah.
I have mine hooked up to play Spotify, and I've appreciated that change. I used to use Amazon Music, and I switched to Spotify.
Alexa, play Pod Therapy.
There you go. That was smart.
All right.
Alexa, order 1 potato.
And subscribe and save. Do this every day.
1 potato a day.
It just keeps getting delivered every day. Have you seen that birthday gift you can order?
No.
It's a big, like, whatever, fucking Idaho potato, and they brand into it whatever you want it to say, and then they deliver it in a nice wood box to somebody. It's like the gift.
That's a great
and just
idea.
like, happy birthday, Jacob. Just a fucking branded potato that will rot. That's great.
Quote, why do people wear this? It's uncomfortable and honestly, it's not even that cute. The fabric is scratchy and the fit is weird. For
Dick
something
Cage, final answer.
for something that costs this much, I expect it to feel like luxury, not something I could have gotten from the clearance rack.
Huh. Luxury. I think it's a corset.
A corset?
Whatever. Is that what it is?
A corset.
But it's spelled like C-O-R-S-E-T-T. That's set. S-E-T-T. That's
Corset.
Sit. Set. Corset.
I think you're just putting the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Corset.
In the wrong
Corset.
emphasis and the wrong syllable.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right. All right, I'm going with a corset. And or corset. Whatever. I feel like those are uncomfortable.
I have no idea.
And luxurious. And I feel like somebody would be pissy about it. And I feel like they would comment on Amazon about, like, this sucks.
I'll do like a nice robe.
Okay.
Ooh, a robe sounds like a good idea.
I'm going to go with fedora.
Ooh,
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I think we're
Dick
all
Cage?
wrong.
Was it Dick Cage?
It was Dick Cage.
Damn it.
It was Dick. No, Lululemon yoga pants.
all right.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, last one.
I'll bet you Whitney would have gotten that.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
I can't believe this thing gets such rave reviews. First of all, the design is so bad. It's tiny, and I can't figure out how to get it to stay where I want it.
It's a
without
dildo.
cost-
Is it too early
It's
to guess?
absolutely a
Is
dildo.
it too early to guess Dick Cage again?
without constantly slipping out of place.
Yep,
Still
it's
Dick
dildo.
Cage.
And when it's not slipping, it's making the most irritating noise.
Yep.
Kind of high-pitched buzz. That's just unbearable if you tried to use it in a quiet room. The packaging made it seem like it would be sleek and modern, but it's honestly just a pain to use. I regret wasting my money. He might be right.
I think vibrator.
The Ass Blaster 3000. Emma knew what she was doing when she
Yeah,
wrote this
I'm
one.
going vibrator.
Yeah, I think easily it's got to be. All right, so I think
A
that
personal massage.
we're being strongly led in that direction. And I'll bet it's going to end up being like a foot
Okay, but
massager.
how to get it to stay where I want it without constantly
Stay where
slipping
I
out of place?
I think it's going to be maybe a back massager. something that
Well,
you're
I was
supposed
thinking,
to lay on.
my original thought was like one of those massage guns, but
but then how is it
slipping out of place doesn't make sense.
Yeah, keep it where I want it.
God,
That's
Jacob's
sleeping.
right.
I'm really
I feel
happy with
like-
vibrator.
He might be right.
That's what she wants us to think, man. Don't fall for her dirty tricks. She knows that we're so immature that that's exactly where we're going with
But
this.
she knows that we know that we're very immature.
Yeah.
So
this is
she
fucking
might think
game-
we're going to loop back
oh
around.
my
game
God.
theory. What is it?
I just saw the answer.
Give us hints.
Okay, here's a hint. It's a tiny, high portable gadget that many people use daily, often in quiet spaces like libraries
Shit!
and
It's
working
those.
meetings.
It's those Apple Pods in your ears.
Oh,
Yeah,
the earpods.
that's what it is. What's the answer?
AirPods.
Yeah.
Fuck. Oh, this is great. Yeah, she knew. She knew what she was doing.
Or a vibrator.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't see why those have to
You
be
know what?
different things.
I can just type that in.
Yeah,
Here.
yeah. There you go. Oh,
In the answer
solid.
place.
Was that the last one?
That was the last one.
Wow. I don't know who's winning, but I'm really happy. with
People
this
bitch
trivia.
about the AirPods all the time. I have a pair that just work.
They don't fall out.
No.
I have the Android version of them. It's hit and miss. They're reliable to some extent, but if I'm chewing, I'm fucked.
Oh.
Like if I'm trying to like listen and while I'm eating lunch or something like that, no way.
I
Those
got
are
some
falling out.
JBL
Okay.
earbuds.
But that's a full headset, isn't it?
No.
Oh, they go in the ear.
Yeah. in
Okay.
ear. Yeah. They're fine. I noticed, but like if I take them out to the driving range, if I'm golfing or something,
Yeah.
every once in a while, like the music stops and then it'll come back
yeah.
on.
I've
Like,
had that
like I'm
too.
hitting the pause button.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I've
but
had
it's
like
only while doing that.
I think it's a Bluetooth interference thing. I'm noticing it when I drive sometimes, and I feel like it's just so many signals.
You shouldn't
out
have
in the world.
earbuds in while you're driving, Jim.
Oh yeah. I meant my car.
You shouldn't have earbuds in and you shouldn't be jacking it.
Don't
All
tell me to
these
live my life.
rules,
I know.
Yeah, Jesus. I thought we agreed. We're Whitney free, man. We're living our best fucking lives. Feeling unaccomplished for my age. From Amanda H. Hey guys, I've been really struggling with the fact that I'm getting older. I turn 30 next year and I just feel behind. Like I'm supposed to be further along than I am. I don't really know how to quantify it, but I just saw my life at 29 as being completely different than it actually is. And I don't know what to do about it. I kind of think I should see a therapist about it, but it feels silly. Therapists have real problems to deal with that just feel more important. Anytime I try to lean on my support team, though, they downplay it as something everyone goes through, and I will feel better when it just happens. I just feel kind of weird about it all, and I'm having a hard time trying to set myself straight here. Is it ridiculous to want to see a therapist just because I'm getting older? Love the show, guys, and glad to finally re-up my Patreon. Amanda H. Pronouns are she and they.
Thank you, Amanda.
Man, this is relatable as shit. Everybody goes through that at some point.
I'm still going through that. I don't have any feedback. I'm going to listen to what these two have to say. 'Cause
I'm also going to
yeah, I'm also wondering how
What
to
is
figure
the
this
answer
out.
to this?
Only
My
I'm
answer to that
43.
is accept where you're at.
Just make
That's
bees.
honestly, that's what I've done.
Yeah.
I'm 43. I don't like where I'm at. I figured I'd be further along than this. And I've just kind of like, well, this is the hand that I've been dealt. This is where I don't have any other choice than to play the hand that I've got.
Now that I'm kind of thinking about it, I'm thinking this is a byproduct of a poor work-life balance for all of us.
Yeah.
Not just
Go
for
on.
Amanda, right?
Yeah.
Amanda's the
very
writer.
good,
Yeah. Yeah, like we focus in this country. We're really bad about it, and I'm sure it happens in other countries too. But I can speak for the U.S. In the U.S., we're really bad about focusing too much of our attention, I think, on our work and not on our outside of work life. And so when you focus all of that attention just on your work life and you aren't to the position that you feel that you should be in your professional life, now it's affecting your personal life. Now it's going to affect your personal life at a greater rate than it would if you didn't care about your work life as much.
Yeah, I think that's true.
That's definitely true. Although, I mean, speaking for myself, because we're just going to put Amanda's letter off to the side. Let's
Yeah,
talk
this
about
isn't
me.
about. Yeah,
Yeah, good.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Nick. Take the floor.
And then we can talk about my physique after.
Yeah, we'll bring you back up.
Yeah, awesome.
You can get into the shitty stuff.
I
Don't
know,
worry.
you look-
We'll
you
lift
look
you up.
great.
Looking really good,
you look
bud.
really good.
Wearing
thank
the
you.
shit
This
out
is
of that
all-
Nashville shirt. I
Yeah.
love it.
Oh, I got paid the best compliment
Did you?
at Life is Beautiful.
Okay.
So this past weekend, actually just last night, I was at Life is Beautiful. For those of you who don't know, it's a music festival in Vegas, which, by the way,
At the plaza?
Yeah. Oh, so it was fine.
Uh-huh.
but compared to what it used to be,
Right.
with like, I think 6 different stages. They had like 12 city blocks
Yeah.
blocked off, that was huge. And then now it's pretty much in the plaza parking lot.
Oh.
And they made it nice. Like, it looked really nice.
sure,
It
yeah.
was great, and there was like,
The plaza's downtown Las Vegas, by
Yeah.
the way, for the listeners.
there's only 2 stages. And so they were side by side.
If you've ever seen Back to the Future 2,
That's the plaza.
It's
is
Biff's.
Biff's.
Yeah.
So
And
there's
Biff's looks way cooler than what the plaza actually presents as.
Nah, the plaza's awesome.
It's a great place. I like the plaza, but
And
it's
they've got
not.
the huge murals painted on the side of it and everything.
Yeah,
It's
those are
swanky.
cool.
It's
I like
swanky. It's,
I like
it's a
the plaza.
different size experience. But anyway, so it's much smaller.
Yeah, so like there are 2 stages side by side. So
Okay.
basically the bands, like one would be playing and then
they're
the
setting
other
up.
setting up.
They're
the
not
other
doing
stage,
battle
right?
the bands. Mike.
And so it was fine. But anyway, so we got in line for our 21 and older passes, right?
Ooh.
So we're getting those on, and the guy complimented my shirt. He's like, "That's a nice shirt."
Okay.
He's like, "Ooh, and you brought the biceps out tonight. Good. That's
No,
nice."
that's nice.
He's like, "She's a lucky girl."
Yeah, I always like how it's dudes that compliment
Oh, yeah,
dudes.
yeah.
Like, none of us have ever heard a nice word
Yeah.
from a woman in our lives, including our partners. But like other dudes who have never met you walk and be like, "My man,
Yeah.
you've got it tonight." And you're like, "Thanks, dude." And like just walking around like, "He's a
That's
good guy."
Men need more of that.
We're cheering for each other.
We need more positive.
Yes, that's just the best.
I'll tell you this:
experiences.
it's not that I don't get compliments from my wife.
Uh-huh.
I will get compliments from other women in the wild.
Yeah.
I'll get a compliment from a woman in the wild, and my wife will actively roll her eyes and be like, "Don't tell
that's
him
what
that."
hurts. No, he does not.
Yeah.
I love your shirt. It's a shitty shirt.
Yeah.
Jesus, what are you doing? I get so few of these.
Yeah.
Why do you have to snatch them?
Yeah.
Just a little butterfly landed on my hand and you just slapped it.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh, there's a lot of truth to that. But
I don't
anyway,
know where we got. Oh, so
you
anyway,
were talking about
okay.
underachieving in
Yeah.
life. Yeah.
So for me, I definitely agree with like the professional identity
Right.
in the United States
being too emphasized.
Yeah, because that's the second question anybody asks you when they meet. It's like, "What's your name?" And the very next question is, "What do you do?"
Yeah.
And I've been told that in other countries that's really weird. That's a
that
weird
there's so
thing.
much emphasis.
Yeah, like why would you even ask that?
Right.
It seems kind of crazy. But like for me, it's not that I'm not where I would like to be professionally.
Right.
I feel like where I am professionally, I'm very happy with my accomplishments.
Yeah.
My accomplishments have not been financially rewarding.
That's what's frustrating. Yeah.
That's the frustrating part.
Yeah.
Is I feel like, wow, and I see all these other people, like friends of ours and just kind of how they're doing and
Right.
everything that, is going on in their lives. And I'm like, wow, that would be nice.
Yeah.
But there's no way I can do that on a social worker salary.
Right.
And it's just, that's the part that I think is kind of frustrating. But
yeah. Well, it's that old saying, right? Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
And I think that what the writer's talking about and what I think all of us relate to is how there is this standardized model for decades of your life and what you this isn't fucking written anywhere, but like there's this understanding of like life milestones of like, okay, so you're a kid, you graduate high school. Now you've got these 20s where you're supposed to accomplish a few things. Maybe you get into significant relationship. Maybe you get into your career and like you've gotten into like something that you can put your name behind and like that's what you're into now. Some people are starting families. And like throughout these like different decades, I think there are these different standards of expectation. And I'm sure that you feel it even whenever you're in like your 50s and 60s. I'll bet you in your 60s, there's this comparison of like, well, I know a guy who I'm friends with who's retired, and like he can do this now. And like, I'm not going to retire. I don't have that financial picture. And so now I'm feeling left out of that or like underaccomplished at this age. So I think that there's like this pace car of expectation that and I'm sure it's culture by culture.
Sure.
But like is very much looming over, I think, especially American culture. And there's this sense of like, anytime you check in with somebody, I feel like they feel social permission to fish for those clues and ask things like, oh, are you in a relationship? How long have you been in a relationship? So what are you doing these days? What are you up to? Like reunions, high school reunions are notorious for that shit.
Yeah.
You meet up and you just compare checklists. Like, do you own a home? Do you have any kids? Are you in a serious relationship? Did you go to college? What's your career? Just like, and it's like, and then subtly, how much money do you make?
All right, we need everybody to line up.
Yeah.
In order of success.
Yeah, that's right.
Successful people over here, and then just find your spot.
Find your spot. Know who your people
Like
are.
a Southwest flight.
Yeah. James, come on. Are you fucking kidding me? Get over.
Go over there. What are you doing, buddy?
You know where you go.
Don't sneak over in the front of the line. And so you're right. Like this comparison thing is really, really difficult. Also,
just the fact that I saw somebody was posting on Instagram about this, and it was actually a financial page, financial guidance page or whatever that I follow. And they were talking about how the next generation has it, like every generation just has it worse and worse as we're going.
Yeah.
Because we've got rising costs for everything, inflation, but just also the housing market is incredibly taken off. So like the younger folks are never going to be able to own their own home, because wages have not caught up.
Right.
So wages have not caught up. Everything's more expensive, and your visibility to see other people with financial success has never been greater.
Right.
So you have
social media and helping.
Yeah, you have incredible access to see how all these other people are living.
Yes.
Knowing you will never achieve that.
That is one of the most damning parts of this. Because I think if you grew up, like, okay, let's get in a time machine, and you're born in 70 or whatever, and like you're growing up in a smallish town, and you keep in touch with the people that you grew up with, right? So by 1995, here you are, you're 25 years old, and you're comparing notes with the people. The internet isn't in this place where anybody's comparing lives. It's a place for silly memes, and like to see some interesting facts and look up some things. And down is Napster, like you're fucking getting music. You're comparing yourself based on word of mouth with your peer group, other people that you see at the bar that live in the same community, that are part of the same economy. And so like, that's where you're getting your comparison statistics. And if your town is struggling, it's in the Rust Belt or whatever, there's a depression upon all of that, which is going to change the expectations and the outcomes. And so like you're coming from the same place, your people, you're grading on a curve.
Yeah.
But this era of internet has ripped that shit away.
Oh yeah.
And so you get on the fucking internet and you're like, here's this asshole idiot who like had their 15 minutes of fame and is now like fucking Logan Paul or whatever. And it's like, they're just making stupid amounts of money, doing all sorts of stupid ass projects, or like even people that aren't famous, but just have access to like, fuck you money.
Yeah.
And they're walking around showcasing it. And you're like, okay, like, and you can see way more.
I mean, when I was a kid, the wealthiest person I knew of owned the car dealership in town.
Right. Yeah. That was king of the castle.
His house was well over 2,700 square feet.
Yeah.
That was it's like, oh.
Taj Mahal. Yeah, geez.
I mean, now you've got access. You can't go anywhere on social media without seeing people, on driving their exotic sports cars, on expensive vacations, on a yacht someplace, and all this. You're just flushed with all of this imagery.
Yeah, it is so discouraging, and it's tough, Ryder, because look, I don't like the abundance of this. I also think there's an overcorrection in the other way, where people go like full fucking Diogenes on this shit. And they're like, I don't care about anything ever. I am completely detached from standards and expectations in the world, and I'm just going to lay on this couch and get high, and that's all I'm going to do. And a lot of times they end up like oppressing other people in their lives. They tend to have to lean on others, right? And like they just don't. They're like, I don't subscribe to the ways of the world, man. And it's kind of like, as a therapist, I don't know that that's excellent for you either. Like if it's your worldview or it's your religion or something to that effect, then I'm not going to seek to change it, because I'm going to give you autonomy and treat you with respect that this is what you're interested in. But I also want to appreciate the consequences of those choices, and let's be grown-ups about how that is affecting your life. And I've met a lot of people that are in that bag, that are like extremist on the other side. I think we've seen several reactions to some of the nonsense that we were just describing, like minimalism is like this more mainstream, not quite Diogenes shit, but like it's, it is a reaction to like the seeking of abundance. Like, no, fuck this. I'm going to get a tiny house, and I'm going to no kids and like all these like choices that people are just saying, if the world is not going to enable me to get these things, then fuck these things. I will choose to value other things, which I think is a healthy reaction.
Yeah.
But you can see how quickly it can slide off the other side of the continuum, where it's like, I reject all interest in all standards and all milestones, and I'm going to live in this detached way that's, completely atypical. And again, I admire it if that's your jam, but I can also see where that is a poor coping skill, right? So there's a healthy medium where I think it's healthy to, yes, sort of think in big terms of like, what are my values? Like, I do want it to be personalized. And then am I meeting those values? And I want to respect the writer, because I think that, Amanda, we shouldn't just say, oh, Amanda, the reason you're unhappy is because you're adopting other people's standards. I'm sure that's a part of this, but I think Amanda's saying, no, by my standards, what I wanted, I feel underaccomplished. Mm-hmm. How do I deal with that?
And I don't think there's anything wrong with seeking a therapist.
I love that idea.
I mean, here's the other thing too. You need to, because I know a lot of people kind of struggle with this and like what constitutes the need for a therapist and what doesn't.
Right.
No therapist is just going to be like, oh, this is not worth my time.
Get out.
Yeah, because from the therapist perspective, if I've got somebody who, wants to meet with me to talk about something that's bothering them, I'm not judging what this crisis is based off of other crises. I'm looking at, how does this affect this person?
Right.
It's significant to this person. So that's the approach that any therapist is going to take with that. They're going to look at, how is it affecting this individual? And then what does success look like for that individual? And just basically help you achieve that.
Yes.
Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to be in therapy long term. This could be,
a phase of life thing.
Real brief therapy. You know, this could be a few sessions and you're just going to get some ideas.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I like that idea. I mean, therapy, again, and I've said this before on the show, a lot of people think the purpose of therapy is to achieve an epiphany. And I try to remind people, like, yes, therapists are highly trained and are considered to be, something of a library of information. And we definitely want to give that to you in a customized sort of way that applies to something at the time you need it. Yes, we are informers and teachers. But also, I think one of the most valuable aspects of the experience of therapy is the emotional yoga, of stepping into this very special relationship where you are meant to encounter your thoughts in this deliberate way with somebody who facilitates that movement in ways that you couldn't access with others. And I think that's really helpful in a situation like this, because this is where a person needs to sit down and examine, what are your values? But then go deeper than that. Mm-hmm. Why? Why do you value that? Where did you learn that? Well, I don't know, and like, I think that's really powerful for people. Like, I struggled for a long time in my life that and I still deal with this, but I think I've gotten a lot healthier with it. For a long time, I would feel guilty if I was resting, if I didn't have a very busy day every day, if I couldn't complain at the end of the day that I had been spent and I'd done everything I could, then something about that day, I was lazy. It wasn't good enough. I'd feel like unhealthy and like I should be ashamed of myself. And I family members have challenged me on that, because I would apologize to them if like I would get out of work out of like a 9-hour marathon of work and like do all this other stuff. And then as soon as I get out, I would like go run errands or try to like do tasks. And then at one point, I think I had apologized to somebody very sincerely that I had dropped the ball and like, I don't know, I think I'd like lost track of 30 minutes and like checked a phone or something like that. And I felt terrible about it. I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, and this person was like, yeah, man, that's not fucking healthy. Like,
who hurt you?
Right. Yeah. And so like, I needed to do some personal work of like reflecting on like, where did I get this concept? Like, who taught me that in my childhood? And when did this become a way that I measure my output and my standard, right? So, Amanda, a lot of people discover that kind of stuff in therapy through that self-examination. And either, yes, they make peace with what's going on in their life that they don't have control over, or they make a plan to sometimes get goal-oriented and attack on some things that they do want to see some progress, and they make SMART goals, and they start having somebody that's coaching them and pushing them forward on strategic initiatives that could make change.
Like a life coach?
That's a very important role that a therapist can be sometimes. Or Jacob. Who is available.
It's a big deal.
Life Coach Jacob.
He's expensive, but he's good.
.geocities.
Yep. Get what you pay for.
That's right. You get what you pay for. Anyway, Amanda, I hope that you will kind of step into a therapeutic relationship on this. I really think there's a lot here to grow on. But yeah, something that's so relatable. And feel free, as you're back in our community, to get into the Discord. I think so many people will talk through that and share their own epiphanies. And if you're a listener of the main feed, I listened to our show the other day on the main feed. And you know what the most annoying shit is? The fucking ads. Those ads just pop. Because like back in the day, we used to take the time to engineer it so that all the ads fell during the trivia break.
You don't do that anymore?
I don't do that anymore because it takes a long time. Like there's a lot of post design work to get it done. And I started looking at it and going, I listen to so many podcasts that do not designate when the ads come. The ads they pop in. Sometimes the host will say, we're taking a quick break. Boom. And I just skip through them. Everybody who listens to podcasts has the 30-second skipper. Mm-hmm. So I know people are just skipping them. And they only come one or two on the main feed. And so I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to let people just do their part and skip it. And if you don't like it, it is $1 to never have to skip it again. And you get the extra show. $1. We are losing money in this economy. Asking for $1.
So quit asking for $1. $2 is the low level.
Jacob always inflating our price. It is $1. Patreon.com/therapy.
$2.
Put $1 in the hat.
$2.
You can just get the feed imported into your podcast.
At some point, it probably will have to come $2 because we don't.
Inflation is killing us.
Well, it's not just inflation.
It's been 8 years.
We don't see $1 of
with
that.
the Patreon fee.
I think we lose money on that.
That just goes to Patreon.
Yeah, with the Patreon fee, if you do $1, it means nothing for the show. $2 is the minimum.
Anyway, we haven't changed it yet, but
at some point,
get in while it's $1. Anyway. As we wrap up the show, we want to remind you can go to patreon.com/therapy and you can get our extended show advertisement free. If you're a main feed listener, stop having to hit that damn skip button.
For only $2 a month.
You can get in still on our $1 deal while it lasts.
$2.
As well as enjoy our live chat Discord community and our weekly deep dives, interviews, skill shares, research roundups, and rants. And we've got some new people joining the Theraparty. Who's new to the tribe there, Nick?
We got a new Therapod, Linus Hakkasan.
Hakkasan. That's a really good restaurant or club and or bar. I don't know. I don't leave my house.
Really good person, too.
Also a good person. And we'd like to thank the benevolent, revered, generous, and flagrantly pro-therapy diehards who love you all so much, they give till it hurts. The Therapartners, Dirty B and Pickett. And we want to thank our bosses, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of our fan club, the Theraproducers. Thank you, Jake Schneider, Myra, Robert Brownie Jr. Mint, Smitty Scoop, Ben Don, Judy Schneider, Kayla Lansbury, Malia, Leon Kassab, Mason Miller, Richard fucking Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Sammy Scoop, Ben Stanley slapping your face, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, Mike Helm, Paris, Samantha Cohn, Darren Cunningham, Lib, Team Monaco, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Matt and Lisa Tangeman, Heyo, Oscar Swanrose, A Sunny Boy, Slurpy K.A. Motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Dan Martin, Hannah Marie, Andrew Langmead, Emma Kane, Elena, and Cody, the DeLorean guy.
And if you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited,
and why wouldn't you?
And enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy. And thank you for supporting Mental Health.
That's all the time we got for this week's session. I want to thank our landlords, Matt and Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast. And thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, Pop Therapy isn't something to keep all to yourself. Share the episode with the world. Tag us on the socials when you do. It's at PodTherapyGuys on Instagram, Threads, and Twitter. It's /PodTherapy on Facebook. And don't forget about all the extra goodies at patreon.com/therapy.
If you want to submit a question to the show, ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Jim.
Whitney.
Yeah, and
that's Jim. Thanks. We'll see you for your appointment next week.
Bow, bow, bow.